I'm Christy. Today I want to start a new series talking about special needs and driving. Today we'll start by asking the question, is it possible? So as we start this series, I should give you a little bit of background. This right now is a very hot topic in our family, and we knew it was probably going to be. You see, AJ is convinced that he will eventually become a big rig driver, most likely on his 25th birthday, which is as early as you can possibly get your commercial driver's license. And he's thought this for a number of years now. Now, I don't think that it's even crossed his mind that it might not happen. And we've mentioned things. Well, AJ, what happens if you don't get your license? No, Mom, I will be a big rig driver. So in his mind, it's a done deal. It's just a matter of when. And that when is probably about 2 years away. Now, I do have to admit, he's done a pretty good job of accepting the fact that he didn't get his regular license at 16. But he still believes that day will come. Well, now we've hit a new milestone. Sean's got his learner's permit, and he's driving all the time. Now, I was fortunate in that AJ admitted about a week before before Sean took his test that Sean would drive before him. He looks at me and goes, "Mom, Sean will drive before me." Okay, phew, that battle is not going to have to be an issue. But now, recently, he started talking about, Mom, he wants to drive so badly. He can't wait for that day to come. And he's counting down. And I may have shot myself in the foot because I told him that once Sean got his license, then we would talk about AJ getting his permit. But I wasn't going to teach both boys at once. So I've got a few months here. We'll have to see what happens. So as I look at this, and I want to ask the question, is it even possible for somebody with special needs to get their driver's license? And the short answer I've discovered is it totally depends on the person. Now, like many things in life, this is true of everybody, special needs or not. But in researching for this series, I also discovered that there are a number of websites that talk about teens specifically. One of them does include adults, and how when they have special needs, they will help them get their license. Now, I should also say that your loved one still needs to have the mental capacity to process their surroundings, have good reaction times, and not get distracted by the myriad of other things going around them in order to be a safe driver. Again, special needs or not. Now, I did find several specific organizations and programs that work with individuals with special needs. One of them is teendriversource.org. You can find a link to this specific article over on my website. You can find that at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted the end of March 2019. Now, the statistics in this particular article are really encouraging about teens getting their license even when they have special needs. I should note, though, that they are focusing on a very specific group of teens. The ones that they list specifically are high-functioning autism spectrum disorder and autism spectrum disorder. Then a little bit later on, they do reference kids that have ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, there are other links in that article that could also be helpful to you. I also found an article from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia from their research division. It's fascinating to me that there is actual research that they're doing to find out how frequently and effectively teen drivers with special needs are able to get their license. Again, you can find a link to that over on the blog. I should note that both of these articles are specifically referencing people or individuals that do not have an intellectual disability. I found two other organizations. Again, there's links on the blog. One is in Arizona, and they work with teens that have, quote, ADD, ADHD, anxiety, autism, Asperger's syndrome, OCD, Crohn's disease, epilepsy, and bipolar disorder. And they've developed a specific program that they will work through with teens to get that process. We'll come back to them in a little bit later. The last organization that I found is actually a British organization, and they work with individuals with, quote, autism, dyslexia and dyscalculia, dyspraxia, ADHD, and ADD, end quote. And again, they help them learn how to drive. Now, they have a bunch of different articles on their website that I think you can find helpful. But I should note that, again, this is from Great Britain. So their requirements and the way they do things are going to be a little bit different. I should also mention that they have one article specifically that talks about different levels of a learning disability and whether or not you have to let the DVLA know about your disability before you take your tests. I also was able to confirm that the DVLA that they talk about is the British version of the DMV, or the Department of Motor Vehicles. I believe it's the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency or something like that. I have a friend who is from Britain and I asked her and that was what she told me. So all of this got me thinking though, what about if you have an intellectual or a developmental disability? Can you still get your driver's license then? So I did a little bit more research and I discovered that intellectual disability does not rule out obtaining a driver's license. I found a couple articles specifically that I linked in the blog that are specific instances of individuals with intellectual disabilities successfully getting their license. You can find them over again on the blog. I think, if I remember correctly, they both took a fair amount of time, longer than a typical person would need, but they were able to get their licenses. So, what's my takeaway from all of this? I think I would say it this way. If your loved one has no intellectual disability, the likelihood is greater that they will be able to get their license. But, as I mentioned before, driving involves a lot of attention to details. And you have to be able to be aware of the situation around you, process that information, and know which to process and which to ignore, as well as respond appropriately, all in a matter of seconds, and sometimes even in the split second. And while you're doing all of that, you have to also be able to control your vehicle and keep everyone around you safe. It's a lot to be able to accomplish, special needs or not. So over the course of the next few weeks, we'll look at some of the different parts of this process and how special needs impacts them. I hope you'll continue to join me. So my question for you this week as we end is this. Has this issue come up in your family? Have you had to make the decision for or with your loved one? How did you decide? Do you have any stories that you'd want to share? I would love to hear about them. You can leave me a comment below, or you can leave me a comment over on the blog. Again, that's at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted the end of March of 2019. As always, I'd appreciate it if you'd share this with anybody that you think would benefit. I'd love to help as many families as I can. If you haven't already, you can sign up for my email list over on the website. Signing up notifies you of all newly released content. If you're interested on my new course that will be coming out later this year, you can sign up for that on the right side of the website. This will sign you up for course updates as they become available, as well as notification of all newly released content. Discovering that driving is possible for more individuals than I previously thought, which reminds me, as always, that life is good and there is never a dull moment.